Shade didn't mean to almost kill her husband. She just loved pepper. Maybe too much of it. From shombo to rodo to suya spice, every meal was fire. Until one day, her husband collapsed after dinner. That night, Shade sat in the kitchen staring at her stew pot, realizing she may have cooked her way into a failed marriage. This is the story of how Pepper nearly ended her home and how white soup saved it. From the day Shade tasted Shombo, something in her spirit shifted. No, not ordinary pepper. This one was long, red, smooth, deceptively beautiful. It looked like tomato's gentle cousin, but inside it carried the ancestral heat of 7 angry masquerades. She was only 8 years old. It happened one quiet Saturday. Mama had sent her to Mama Pc's kiosk at the junction to buy 50 naira onions, 100 naira tomato, and one Maggi. But Mama Peace had just returned from the farm. Her eyes were tired. Her mind was not present. Instead of tomatoes, she scooped a handful of shombo into the nylon and shaved Shade off. Tell your mama say no change. Shade skipped home, singing, holding the nylon like it contained treasure. Back in the kitchen, she washed the peppers, chopped them up, seeds and all, fried them in groundnut oil, added dry crayfish and poured the whole thing into the stew pot. The aroma was wild, like party jollof crossed with village firewood cooking. Even the neighbors peeped through the window. Ah, who is cooking that thing? Smells like wedding food. Shade stood proudly, fanning herself. She had cooked alone at 8. Her chest swelled. Mama returned from fetching water and walked into the kitchen. She lifted the pot lid. Mowe! She staggered back. The heat didn't wait for her to taste it. It punched her straight from the steam. Eyes watering, throat itchy. She reached for water, then pap, then raw sugar, then rubbed Vaseline on her neck, shaking her head like a person under attack. Who told you to use all the pepper in Lagos? Shade stood there confused, licking the stew spoon like it was strawberry yogurt. I thought it was tomato, she said innocently. Tomato? Which tomato is this red and dangerous? You didn't taste it? Shade smiled. I did, and it's very sweet. Mama stared at her. That day, she didn't beat her. She just sat down quietly, holding her chest and whispered, this one, oh, this girl is not ordinary. That was the beginning. The day Shombo entered her bloodstream, and it never left it. From that day forward, pepper became her identity. At school, when others carried biscuits in their bags, Shade carried dry chili flakes in a mini tin. She would sprinkle it on her meat pie, lick it with her lollipop, add it to her ribena. Even her chewing gum was sometimes spicy. One time during break, her best friend Rukayat took a bite from Shade's lunchbox without asking. The scream that followed sent 2 teachers running. What did you put inside? The home economics teacher shouted. Shade looked surprised. Only peppered rice. Rukia didn't talk to her again until midterm break. At home, it got worse. She began adding dry pepper to garri. Once she poured ground rodo pepper into her cornflakes. Her older brother Tunde made the mistake of stealing her pot of egusi soup one Sunday afternoon. He took one piece of meat and a scoop of soup. By evening service, he was in church crying during worship. People thought it was the Holy Spirit. Only Shade knew what was going on. They gave her names: Pepper Prophetess, Captain Shombo, the Red Minister, Daughter of Fire, and she wore them proudly. If someone said the dish was hot, Shade would eat it without blinking. You people are too soft, she would say. It's just small pepper to open the sense. Even her mother sat her down one day. Shade, this thing you're doing, this pepper life, it's not normal. Oh. One day, this thing will disgrace you. Shade just smiled like someone who had seen her future in stew. If it's not spicy, it's not food now, Mama. By the time she turned 16, Shade had become a full-blown kitchen menace. No matter the dish, rice, beans, yam porridge, even custard, there had to be pepper. One time during family devotion, her father began praying loudly and sweating buckets. The Lord is mighty and merciful. Ah! They thought he was catching the spirit again. It was later they realized he had just eaten her leftover fish stew before prayers. Even the dog Bruno avoided her plate. One day, Shade offered him fried plantain. He sniffed once and walked away like a disappointed elder. Her mother, now used to the drama, developed a habit. Every time Shade entered the kitchen, she would ask, Do you want to eat or fight? One day, the woman had had enough. She called her sister Auntie Nike. Please come and carry your niece. This one wants to send me to early grave. But Auntie Nike came with a solution. Don't worry. When she falls in love, Pepe will leave her body. Sade scoffed. I can't marry a man who can't handle small heat. Her mother shouted. You want to marry who? Chimamanda's husband? Better come and learn how to make white soup without sending someone to ICU. But Sade just smiled. My husband will eat my food and lick my plates. And that's when Folarin entered the picture. It was at a wedding in Sululere. Sade was in charge of small chops. Her samosa had extra pepper. Her puff-puff had a whisper of chili. Folarin, tall, well-dressed, calm voice like NTA news anchor, approached her with a smile. Hi, please, who made this puff-puff? Sade wiped her brow and smiled. I did. It's soft like cloud. She nodded. Pleased. You haven't tasted anything yet. They started talking, exchanged numbers, gisted on WhatsApp. By the end of the week, he was calling her every night. By the second month, he was bringing wine to greet her people. By the third, wedding plans were full throttle. But one thing had not happened yet. He hadn't tasted her full pepper potential. The traditional wedding was beautiful. Sade wore a burnt orange ashoke with gold embroidery that glistened like palm oil under the sun. Her gele, high enough to pick DSTV signal. Her waist beat danced with each step. She smiled from cheek to cheek as a gungun be careful blasted from the speakers. But all through the event, Folarin had not yet eaten her cooking. Everything that day came from the caterers. Sade, however, had a plan. The first Sunday after their white wedding would be her performance day. She would cook him stew, real stew, not all those white supermarket sauces people used to propose these days. She would cook him something unforgettable. She even bought new Cameroon pepper from a woman in Mile 12 who said, this one for stubborn meat and stubborn men. That Sunday, whilst Folarin was still sleeping, she tied her wrapper tight and entered the kitchen like a woman going for vigil. She brought out fresh goat meat, palm oil, 5 rodo pepper, 2 handfuls of shombo, crayfish, ginger, a whisper of onions, only for balance. Then she brought out her special weapon, Madam Fire Spice, a powder she bought online from a woman who claimed it could wake up the dead. As she cooked, she hummed, You are great, by Stephen Crown. But deep inside her spirit, she was preparing for war. The stew hissed. The oil turned deep red. The air shifted. Even the ceiling fan started turning slow as if intimidated. She dipped 1 spoon, tasted it and whispered, Ah, perfect. Folarin came out of the bedroom yawning. Something smells serious. Sade grinned. Sit down. I made goat meat stew for you. You will lick plates today. He smiled. I'm hungry like mad. He served himself rice, 1 generous scoop, added stew, then 3 chunks of meat. He took the first spoon, paused, blinked, then the second spoon. He coughed and took a third. He stood up, walked to the fridge. There was no water. He put on the tap. There was no pressure. He went to the freezer to look for ice block. He grabbed it with his 2 hands and held it to his tongue like Holy Communion. Babe, he finally said, is this stew or generational attack? Sade laughed and clapped. Hey, so you are weak. It's just small Cameroon pepper and rodo and shombo that I put here with some dry tatache. All in 1 pot? It's for balance. Balance, care. I think my ancestors just knocked me down. He tried to speak again, but all that came out was a whisper. I think my throat has left the chat. That night, Folarin had nightmares. He dreamed he was being chased by a woman with a pot of fire. He woke up sweating. He drank 3 bottles of cold water and still couldn't feel his tongue properly. But Sade, she slept peacefully, hands on her belly, dreaming of the perfect banga soup recipe with a little pepper to wake the spirit. By the second week of marriage, Folarin began inspecting her food like a customs officer. Is this white rice or pepper rice? Is it jollof? Then why is it glowing like this? She would smile proudly and say, because I used smoked paprika and blessed it with fire. He started keeping gala and yogurt in his car boot just in case. One day, His friends came over to watch a match. Sade welcomed them warmly. Make una relax. I made spaghetti for you guys. They cheered her. Our wife! 5 minutes later, Tunde was crying quietly in the toilet. Jide had removed his shirt and was pacing the balcony. Kunle asked if there was any prayer session in the area. Folarin just sat, his eyes red, spoon paused mid-air. Sade, he said softly, please now, reduce the pepper. My intestines are no longer in alignment. She touched her chest and smiled. This is how I show love. Pepper is passion. 2 months into the marriage, Folarin's boss, Mr. Okonkwo, came to visit. It was a big deal. Folarin wore his best shirt, cleaned the parlor, sprayed air wick 3 times. Sade promised to make something special. Seafood okra. She said, premium level seafood. But as she brought out ingredients, her hands betrayed her. One dried atarodo, then another, then a sprinkle of her Madam Fire spice, then 3 spoonfuls of Cameroon powder, just small, she whispered to herself. He looks like someone who can handle it. Mr. Okonkwo sat at the table, took 2 spoons, then paused. A single tear rolled down his left cheek. Madam, is this revenge? Sade tilted her head. Ah, sir, you don't like it? I like my life more. He drank 4 sachets of water, stood up and left silently. He never returned. The next day, Folarin didn't get the project he had hoped for. That night, he sat her down in the living room. No TV, no distractions. Sade, I love you, but this Pepe is now a third party in our marriage. It's not Pepe, it's personality. Then I'm sleeping in the guest room. Let you and your personality bond though. The guest room became his permanent address. At first, Sade thought he was bluffing. He would come around, Sade told himself. He just needs to build Pepe tolerance. But 3 days passed, then 5, then a full week. No shared breakfast, no evening gist, no back rubs. He stopped asking what was in the pot. He started bringing takeaways home. Sometimes rice and beans from a buka near his office. Sometimes bland-looking afang soup that smelled like it came from a diet plan. One night, she saw him eating boiled yam and egg without pepper. She gasped. This is betrayal. Folarin looked at her like someone who had survived the war. This is survival, oh, my wife. Then, it was one Tuesday. It was raining. Lagos traffic was in its beast mood. Sade was home cooking peppered yam porridge because why not? She sliced the afarodo tin, added curry, thyme and a sachet of suya spice, tasted the mix and nodded. Aha, now it's sweet, she told herself. She placed the pot on low heat and wiped her brow. Then her phone rang. It was an unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something nudged her. She picked. A woman's voice came through. Hello, are you Mrs. Folarin? Yes. Your husband collapsed at work. He was rushed to Holy Mercy Clinic. The spoon dropped from her hand. When she got to the clinic, she was barefoot. She didn't even remember when she left the house. She had only wrapped her scarf in a hurry and left. The receptionist recognized her immediately. Ah, I know you, Pepe woman. Apparently, Folarin had been coming there secretly for weeks. He had ulcer and he was treating ulcer. They told her he hadn't eaten lunch that day. The boss had bought everyone meat pie. Folarin declined. My wife's food is waiting at home. But when he got up to attend the call, he collapsed. Mild bleeding, dehydration, low blood pressure. Sade sat on the metal bench, knees pressed together, arms wrapped around herself. She wasn't crying yet, she was calculating. Ulcer. Since when? He didn't tell me. But he was eating pepper before. Okay, maybe not this level, but still. She put her hand on her chest. It felt tight, hot, unsteady. The nurse came out an hour later. He's awake now. Sade stood immediately, but her legs buckled. She sat back down, then rose again and followed the nurse. Inside the room, Folarin was lying down, pale, eyes half shut, drip connected to his hand. He looked tired, but not just physically, emotionally tired, like someone who had fought a silent war for months. She walked slowly toward him. He didn't speak, just stared at the ceiling. Folarin, she started. You nearly killed me. Her mouth hung open. I didn't know. I told you I couldn't handle your pepper. I thought it was just your mouth that you were joking. You thought everything was a joke until now. He turned his face away. The machine beside him beeped slowly, almost like it was sighing on his behalf. Shade stood there for minutes, trying to hold back tears. They came anyway. That night, she stayed beside his bed. He didn't tell her to leave, but he didn't speak to her either. He drank custard and crackers. No oil, no salt, no stew. When the nurse came to change the drip, she greeted Shade gently. Madam, oh, no offense, but we've seen this kind before. Some wives use love potion to poison their husbands. You are lucky he survived. Shade said nothing. She just nodded slowly. When they discharged him 3 days later, he didn't ride with her. He took a ride with his younger cousin who had visited that morning. When she got home, she found the note he had left behind. From now on, I'll be eating outside. It was scribbled on a torn page from the family calendar, the same one with a picture of a stew pot on the front. She sat at the dining table with her hands on her lap. She looked around the house, quiet, clean, freshly swept. She walked to the kitchen. The yam porridge was still there, untouched. She lifted the pot lid. It smelled amazing, like all her food always did. She dipped a spoon, tasted it, paused, then walked to the sink. And for the first time in her life, she poured the entire pot of stew down the drain. The pot hissed, but Shade didn't flinch. Her eyes watered, but not from pepper. Me, she whispered. My husband now fears my food. Me, Shade the caterer, Madam Chop and Shiva. Her phone rang. It was her mother. Shade, how is married life? Shade's lips quivered. She dropped to the floor, holding her phone like a confection box. Mama, I've been cooking poison for my husband. That night, Shade did not sleep. She just sat on the kitchen floor, barefoot, broken, silent. The house was dark except for one kitchen bulb buzzing faintly, casting a shadow across the ceiling that looked exactly like her shame. In one hand, she held a metal spoon. In the other, nothing. Just the emptiness of a woman who had cooked herself into regret. The aroma of her untouched yam porridge still lingered in the air. A dish she once would have proudly packaged and posted on WhatsApp with wifey goals. Now she could barely look at her own pot. Her stomach rumbled. She ignored it. She wanted punishment, not food. She wanted the pain to soak deep. Because somehow, deep in her soul, she knew this wasn't about pepper anymore. It was about pride, about stubbornness, about ignoring love when it came in whispers, until it shouted back in blood pressure readings and hospital walls. She stared at the floor for so long that even the cockroach hiding behind the fridge came out to check on her. Still, she didn't move. Morning brought no light. When she finally stood, her bones cracked like old furniture. She shuffled to the bedroom, rinsed her face, and looked at her reflection. Her eyes were swollen. Her wrapper hung awkwardly, and for the first time ever, her face looked soft, like someone who had dropped their weapons. She walked back into the kitchen, opened her full shelf, and began to remove the things that once made her powerful. The Madame Fire spice mix, the Korean chili pepper she ordered online, her 3 containers of dried rodo, the old blessed Cameroon pepper sachet she used to guide like Bible. She packed them all in a Ghana must go bag. Then she carried it outside and placed it beside the dustbin. As she turned to walk back inside, she whispered to the bag, I love you, but we have to break up. She didn't want to go to the market, not because she was tired, but because she knew the pepper sellers would talk. She wore a scarf, dark shades, old slippers. She walked quickly, head down, muttering under her breath. Buy Titus fish, uziza leaves, no rodo, no shombo, no pepper. As she reached the open air section of the market, she heard it. Madam Fire is back, oh! Pepper Minister, we missed you, oh! See her. She dey hide her face like say she no roast my intestine last month. Shade ignored them. She went to the vegetable woman. Good morning, I need white soup ingredients. The woman blinked. You? Yes. Without pepper, oh. Even the fishmonger was confused. No suya spice today. No, just salt. She returned home and locked her door like a woman hiding from demons. Then she opened her bag and stared at her market haul. Everything looked innocent. No red, no bread powders, no fiery seeds, no dangerous spices. She arranged her ingredients slowly. Each item felt like forgiveness. She tied her wrapper like a soldier, washed her hands like a surgeon, and stood in front of the stove like a judge. This was her courtroom, her trial. She was about to cook bland food, no pepper, no backup plan, just stockfish, uziza leaves, crayfish, ogiri, and humility. As she stared, her body itched from drama. Twice, she reached for her pepper container. Twice, she stopped. Once, she picked it up, but the label caught her eye. Warning, do not use when your marriage is on life support. She had written it herself the night before. She dropped it and faced her pot. No Sade, not today. The soup was white, calm, almost shy. It didn't bubble like her usual concussions. It just simmered gently like a woman that knew her place. She tasted it, then sat down. She couldn't cry. The taste wasn't bad. It was just quiet. No assault, no ambition. For the first time, her food was no longer shouting, and Shade realized something. Maybe her whole life had been shouting. That evening, Folarin came home late, very late. Shade had set the table by 7:30 p.m., arranged two bowls, and sat in silence. By 8:10, the food was cold. By 8:45, she reheated it, hoping he would come. Yet by 9:17, she began to doubt herself. What if she had eaten already? What if he didn't want her food again? What if then she heard the gate creak. Her heart skipped. She stood, then sat, and stood again. When he stepped into the house, he was holding a nylon from a food vendor. Shade froze. You bought food? Folari paused, looked at the bag. Yeah, just something small. Why? I cooked now. He blinked, then looked at her face. Her eyes were indifferent, but there was no attitude, no pride, just tired hope. He looked at the nylon again, then slowly dropped it on the table. Let me change first. Sade quickly entered the kitchen to warm the food again. Her hands were shaking, her heart jumping like someone skipping rope. Following returned to the table, quiet. She served him gently. White soup with pounded yam, no color oil, just steam and peace. He picked up his spoon, paused, sniffed it. It smells normal. That's the goal. He took a small scoop, chewed, then chewed again, swallowed, looked at her. It's not bad. Shade smiled faintly. It won't kill you either. He took a second scoop, then a third. By the fourth, he was no longer expecting. He was just eating. Not dancing, not crying, just eating like a man finally free from food trauma. After the meal, he leaned back in his chair. Thank you, I enjoyed the meal. Shade cleared the plate without a word. In the kitchen, she finally exhaled. She sat on the floor again, but this time with relief. The next afternoon, while cleaning the cabinet, she found a forgotten jar of crushed chili under a pile of seasoning cubes. Her fingers brushed the lid. Her eyes lingered. She stared at it for a full minute. Something in her whispered, just small now. Hey, 1 teaspoon. No one would know. She opened the lid, sniffed it, coughed. The aroma nearly resurrected her old spirit, but then she heard something in the background. Flaring was in the living room laughing. It was the first time he had laughed freely in weeks. She closed the jar fast and threw it in the trash. No, not again. Shade began learning. She joined an online group called Spice Without Fire. She watched YouTube videos about flavor layering. She started using turmeric, curry leaves, ginger, onions, and herbs to bring depth to her meals. Her friends noticed, Shade, are you sick? Shade, why is your food so calm now? Who delivered you from pepper madness? She just smiled and said, wisdom. One day, Folarin came home and kissed her on the forehead. You're trying, oh. That night, Shade wept again, but not from guilt, from gratitude. 3 months later, Shade rebranded her catering business. She archived all her old photos, the one where steam looked like smoke and food looked like judgment. She changed her business name from Pepper Empire to Peaceful Plates, her new motto. We feed, not fight. She printed flyers, updated her Instagram photos, even designed a new logo, a calm spoon resting gently beside a leaf. And the bookings, they started rolling in. Surprisingly, many people were tired of fire. One rainy Thursday, Mama Folarin showed up unannounced, her tie as high as ever, slippers slapping the ties, eyes scanning like customs. She sat in the parlor and shouted, Sade, I hope you are no longer trying to assassinate my son with stew. Sade came out smiling. Mama, I've changed now. We shall see you. She entered the kitchen, lifted pot leaves, sniffed, then paused. Where is the smoke? Where is the violence? Sade replied, I buried them. They both laughed. Mama took a bite of her egusi soup, paused. Who cooked this? I did. You, Sade, the scotcher. Sade, the healer. Now? Mama smiled. You are now a wife, not a weapon. One evening, Folarin returned from work early. The house smelled like jollof rice. Calm, smoky jollof. No, don't threaten me. He walked into the kitchen. Sade was stirring the pot, humming Chioma Jesus quietly. No rapper drama. No oil splashing, just peace and pepperless productivity. He walked up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. I'm proud of you. She smiled but didn't turn around. I didn't think I could change. Neither could I. They both laughed. He kissed her on the cheek. Let's eat together tonight. No more separate plates. Sade's heart jumped like it was hearing wedding bells again. She nodded. That night they ate at the same table, talked. Share plantain chips free from suya spices. No tears, no ice blocks, just healing. 2 weeks later, Sade received a call. Hello, is this Peaceful Plate Catering? Yes, ma. Good morning, ma. Good morning. My name is Madam Ifeyinwa. My daughter's wedding is in 3 weeks. We want full Yoruba Niger Delta fusion. And please, we love pepper. A lot of it. Sade's face froze. Sorry, ma. Did you say a lot of it? Yes, so we are fire people. My in-laws eat pepper like it's communion. If the food doesn't burn small, they won't eat it. Shade looked at the phone like it insulted her family name. She turned the speaker off, sat down. She thought hard. This was a big order. Over 1 million in catering fees. It would cover her website, staff uniforms, and even rent for the new space she wanted. But it came with a condition. Spice. Serious spice. She prayed. God, is this temptation or promotion? She called back. Hello, ma. Yes? We'll take the order, but kindly note, the fire will be flavorful, not fatal. Her team cooked everything that day. Spicy dishes, mild dishes, compromise dishes. She supervised like a general on the battlefield. One moment, a girl shouted from the corner, Auntie Sade, the pepper for the fisherman soup is too much, oh. Sade walked over, tasted it and smiled. Reduce it, just a little. We want drama, not deliverance. By the time the bride tasted the first spoon, she screamed, Who made this? They pointed to Sade. You're a genius. No, ma. I'm just a reformed woman. That same week, Sade cleaned the kitchen cabinet way at the back. She found one last jar of dried rodo, long forgotten. She laughed, picked it up. So you're still here? She unscrewed the thing, sniffed it once and sneezed like a woman possessed. Chai! Folari entered the kitchen. What are you doing? I'm just saying goodbye. She took the jar outside, poured it into the earth, then said solemnly, Rest in peace. That Sunday, Sade cooked a full meal, mild egusi, white rice, fried plantain, small grilled chicken, no fire, just flavorful. She set the table. She didn't call Folari. He came by himself. He sat, served himself, ate, nodded. Peaceful Plate is working. Sade smiled. She didn't boast, didn't gloat. She just said, Food should not shout louder than the one who cooked it, abi? That night, she and Folarin watched TV together. Their son, whom they had almost forgotten to argue over, crawled toward the dining table. He banged the spoon against the floor. They laughed. And Sade said, This one will like pepper. Oh. Folarin gasped dramatically. God forbid, we'll start training him early. Sade chuckled, pulled her son close and whispered, If you ever want to cook, add love first, then flavor, then peace. Let pepper be your guest, not your landlord. The end. And so that was how Sade, the puppet prophetess, retired from her ministry of mouthfire and became a woman of peace. In food, in marriage, and in mindset. She didn't just change her recipe, she changed her heart. Because sometimes it's not the pepper that ruins things, it's refusal to listen, to adjust, to choose love over ego. In the end, Sade didn't lose her fire. She just learned when to use it and when to turn it down. Her home was saved, her business evolved, and her husband, he finally ate stew without ice block in hand. Now, let me ask you, have you ever had to change something you love deeply because it was hurting someone else? Do you think Sade's change was real, or would you still check her food before eating? And if it were you, would you forgive a partner who nearly cooked you into a coma? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming and hilarious stories like this one. Because here, we don't just tell stories, we serve life lessons with flavor. Not atarodo pepper kind, but sweet pepper. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, see you. Bye.